Receiving shadows is basically the same as we did earlier when we set up shadow casters in 3D. To make shadows fall on the 3D character. To receive shadows on a green screen, in principle we just set up shadow casters and do the same in reverse. But in reality, it's actually much harder. It would be great if we could just fake receiving shadows in post. Then anytime an actor moves into a shadow area on the virtual set, we just paint them dark. But that unfortunately doesn't work. Real shadows are extremely complex. Here the shadow both creeps and crawls over the contour of her face, and doesn't cause double shadows where her face is already dark. To fake it, we'd have to somehow make a garbage mat that wipes over her face and darkens it. But the end result looks ridiculous because it doesn't respond to the contour of her face. And there are double shadows everywhere. The consequence of this is important, because it means that the only way we can get an actor to walk in and out of shadows is to cast actual shadows on the set. The most difficult kind of shadows to cast are shadows that have to fall in specific places. In this garden scene, we would have to duplicate each of the pillars. Since the 3D set already exists, we can measure the pillars. And these are 15 centimeters wide and 89 centimeters apart. We're doing this shot outdoors because only sunlight looks like sunlight. We've then built these towers with foam board on the front. And they're placed to have 89 centimeters from middle to middle. If the 3D set didn't exist, we'd have to decide then and there where the shadows would have to fall. And then the 3D set would have to be built to match. Then we shoot the plate. As she steps forwards through each of the shadows, they move over her body in a way we could never fake. After the match move, obviously the first thing we have to do is match the light angle. And a couple of quick test renders take care of that. We're not free to position the match move anywhere because we want the shadows to line up. And then here's the 3D plate. When we composite her into the scene, just like in the last chapter, we need her shadows separate so we can color correct the ground. And the only way to do that is to pull two keys, one with a shadow and one without, and then subtract them from each other to get the shadow. Then we can color correct the ground. But here's where it gets difficult because we're getting double shadows. And we need to exclude the 3D shadows so we don't color correct the ground where 3D has already cast shadows. So we've rendered a 3D shadow pass, which we can subtract. And then we get no double shadows. And like before, we've garbage matted it, so we only do this on the ground. Finally, we simply key her on top and color correct. And then here's the final composite. The key needs some work in the beginning. But the shadow casting actually really works. And we only get a single layer of shadows on the ground. So this is very effective. But fact is, this is both a difficult shoot and a difficult composite. You can make things dramatically easier by not shooting full figure. The entire problem in the previous shot was the ground shadows. And as soon as we're medium or close, it's much easier. We first of all don't have to worry about double shadows. But more importantly, we don't have to match them accurately, because the eye can't really tell if the shadows are motivated or not. And it's great for realism. The same goes for receiving light. And by that we mean stepping into hot spots. In close shots, we can keep the background green while we do basically any kind of lighting. So unless we're way off for the scene, who's to say there's not a fan to the right? But when we're full figure, we're limited by the fact that we can't light the actor separate from the green screen. It's no problem to make a hotspot, but it's useless unless we can bring the green screen up back here. But when we do that, we lose the hotspot. The only way to do this is to backlight that part of the green screen, which can work if you're okay with an extra shadow and a rim. But it will give lots of glare that has to be polarized, which will cost 2 stops of exposure. The moral is that if you want a guarantee of no problems, only receive shadows and hotspots in medium and close shots. Doing them full figure is much more demanding. Finally, a couple of quick notes are that if we're shooting in real sunlight, it doesn't matter if shadow casters are close to the actor or far away, because the light rays are parallel, so the shadow size is always the same. So we didn't really care where the shadow casters were standing, only what the distance between the shadows was. Also, only do this with hard shadows. Remember that soft shadows can be difficult or impossible to exclude.